the problem is about information, and it's about information management. The job of the media is always to get to the bottom of it, good old-fashioned journalism. This is going to, I'm going to start sounding like a bit like a broken record. I guess Tiaz is probably going to say much the same. You can't do this, you cannot resolve conflicts without good quality journalism, and that means not reporting for the sake of trying to manage a conflict. You manage a conflict by having good information. And our job as journalists is to get good information, to get accurate information, to get fair, balanced information. And that means, as I said, doing the hard job of getting beneath the superficial rubbish which the politicians, the power brokers use in these things. I just very quickly want to talk generally about Africa and tribal conflicts in general. One of the problems is that tribalism is very much a cliche which is often used to explain conflict in Africa. It's something that means everything in a fuzzy kind of way, but actually tells you nothing about what's going on behind any of these conflicts. And almost invariably, if you scratch the surface, you find that it's a conflict over resources of some sort, whether it's political resources, land, water, minerals, whatever. But it takes effort, time, energy, and professionalism to get to that story. And in most cases, social media can't do that. It does it in some cases. I'm not denigrating, but what I'm saying is that there always has to be a role for professional journalists to get to this information and to make sure that it stays there, it stays as part of the public discourse.
And yes, please. If you can also pick up this question as well. How can we tell the difference between the rubbish and the good information?
Okay. You know, I think one of the key issues of watching all these developments that I mentioned in the past, Vietnam, Watergate, and everything else, the key difference that one is dealing with today is that government, the huge amount of multi-million, billion-dollar machinery that has emerged behind selling of policies is pretty much paralleling the same kind of multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns to sell Coca-Cola or fast foods. And the difference between the two is pretty much the same, between the new backlash that is arising, because people are beginning to realize that inundating yourself with Cokes and fast foods and ice creams and others and hamburgers is probably not a very good thing eventually, but there is a whole new health and wellness phenomena that is arising as a counteraction. But if you look at the amount of money that is spent every day to sell you a hamburger or a Coke or an ice cream, convinces you to believe that that is actually the right thing to do, that this is somehow cool or fancy or sexy. Whereas the people who are selling you other things like yoga and health and wellness and vegetarianism and meditation and all the other things isn't quite in that genre. I mean, they don't have the kind of bucks that is there behind it to sell you that. So the independent media is actually dealing with all the spin doctors that have gone in the past 2-3 decades who have tried to sell us these things. And when you have an entire military machinery, which is today probably one of the largest creators of arms and ammunition, the arms and ammunition business does not make a profit in an age of peace and quiet. So that thing has to be sorted out. And the role of the media eventually in doing that is to be able to tell the people the difference between and here again I feel very strongly personally about this, because some of the best known correspondents who covered the Vietnam War, again just a couple of 100 kilometers from here, brought that war to an end because they were able to point out to the American public the difference between what was being told to the American public through what was known as the 5 o'clock follies, the military briefings which nobody believed, and what was actually reality going on in the battlefield. And that is what made all the difference. And to bridge that gap is going to be a monumental problem, particularly given the fact that a lot of the media itself today is being owned by the same corporations that are profiting from selling wars and mayhem. Maybe Peter might.
Slide.
Yeah, certainly the media has been used to actually reproduce oppressive social orders, or the socioeconomic orders, or socio-political orders all over the world. And the role played by media is actually can be very dangerous, not only in management of conflict, but actually in initiating conflict, and also in camouflaging, the injustices that are happening. And as a Palestinian who've actually worked as a media practitioner for so long, and have witnessed how the Western media have been, covering the Palestine-Israeli conflict, or even other conflicts in the region, and there is a lot of research about that. It makes you want to take a proactive approach to actually stop this media conglomerates monopoly over the news setting agendas on how conflicts are being perceived. And we have seen actually a lot of misreporting, a lot of misconceptions, and I would like to say words can also kill like bombs. Words can kill like bombs. Words can justify genocidal activity. Like for example, I'm trying to, the war on Gaza, the war on Gaza was a very classical example, very recent example, in how the media has been employed to, war crimes in front of all of us have been committed, and still the media, a lot of media in the West try to mitigate the effects of this, this. And here, that's why Palestinians had to use alternative sources of media in order to show what's obvious, to show the redness of blood, even, like in Facebook, thousands and if not millions of people had to change either the names for saying Gaza, side of Hitler. Social media has been used, and system journalism has been used in order to break this monopoly of how the conflict is perceived. And we can talk about this as examples, but just I wanted to say that as a starting point for discussion, because we need to use the media in different ways.
Thank you. What I'm hearing is that there's a military, a corporate machinery, there's political motivations, there are things that are helping to peddle and perpetuate mistruths, and there's a need for moderation, to uphold, like Superman, Clark Kent, the fight for truth and justice as a journalist. At the same time, using alternative media, social media, but then we have the problem, how do we tell the truth from the garbage? I'd like, Swati, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, and to open to the other speakers as well. There was some sad news today that there's been some firefighting in Kabul, and 3 United Nations staff, at least 3, have been killed, and it's a somber moment indeed. One of the knock-on effects of media is that by providing media coverage to such issues, in some ways by giving the oxygen of publicity, we further the detrimental aims of perpetrators. How do we balance this with the importance of media freedom? What is your opinion on that? When we publicize the truth, the reporting of the truth, and we further conflict, or we further misrepresentations or prejudices, how do we balance that with media freedom?